Hey, it's Eric Lee with Starfish Coaching and Designers Business Academy. I'm back to you with another episode in my Design Business Tips series. This episode, I'm going to spend some time to share with you the top 5 business mistakes that designers make. As a designer myself who's built my own business to a successful brand, I look back at how I first started and I see these common mistakes. And now as a business coach who helps designers, I see the same common mistakes being repeated. So I wanted to put together this episode so that you can learn from my mistakes and not do these 5 critical errors. The first mistake that I see over and over again, not just in the interior design business, but in pretty much all small businesses, is that owners are wearing all the hats. And now I understand why this happens, because in the beginning when you're starting, especially if you don't have big investors backing you up and you're just starting your business grassroots, very organically, like most small business owners, you don't have much money. So you pretty much have to do everything yourself. This goes from something as small as being the janitor, wearing that hat, to being the bookkeeper, to being the sales, and of course doing the design lead and the production drawings. It goes on and on and on. As a new business, we pretty much have to pinch our pennies wherever we can, and we can't afford to hire all this stuff out. I get it. But then eventually, when you build your own revenue, you need to start letting that go. And that's where the common mistake I see when I come in as business coach. Successful designers who's been at it for a while are still hanging on to things that they're not necessarily good at, and they don't know why they're still hanging on to it, but maybe it's just over time they've just learned how to do it and they feel that, okay, they're the best person to do it. But really, if you think about it, what you should be doing is high level work. If you are good at sales, or if you're the best designer in your business, you need to be doing more of that work rather than doing some low level work like, let's say, bookkeeping. Because really, you can pay someone minimal money to do bookkeeping work, free up your time there so that you can do the high level work that is worth a lot of money to a business to bring in more work. And that keeps a business going. My tip here for those who find it hard to let go of the small tasks that they either don't enjoy that much, or they feel that they're very good at and no one else can do it, but they don't enjoy it. My tip here is to assign yourself a dollar amount for your time. Whatever that is, it really doesn't matter what that is, as long as you have something in your head to gauge future delegation for. So what I mean by this is, let's say that you feel good at being worth $150 an hour. Great. Then that's the number you should measure to. Next time something comes on your plate, like bookkeeping or like going and sending a package out, being a courier basically, ask yourself, can you find someone else to do that job for less than $150? And most likely those low level tasks, you can. Bookkeeping, let's say, you can probably find someone out there for $30, $40 an hour to do the bookkeeping. And if you feel that your time is worth $150 an hour, you've automatically saved over $100 an hour for your business, plus you are freeing up your own time so you can go do higher level work. And in addition, you are letting go one of the things that you really don't enjoy. So that's the way you need to start thinking about delegating tasks, especially things that you don't enjoy. Now, of course, if there's something that you really enjoy, and even if it's worth less than what your $150 an hour, there's something to be said to maybe to keep that going so that you can be in your flow and doing what you love. But I'm talking about tasks that you even forgot that you don't enjoy. You've just gotten so good at it. So you really have to dig deep and ask, okay, what are those tasks and what can I let go of? The second mistake that I see a lot of designers do is they're just being too perfectionistic. And I was totally guilty of this. It took me a while to let go of that and to be able to just say, okay, this is my standard and that's good enough, rather than shooting for this really high bar that I was. And the problem with that is, yes, there's nothing wrong with being perfectionistic and having a high standard. I've got nothing against that. The difference here is, if you are okay being your own person doing all the work forever, fine, you can hold on to that standard. But once you start to build a team and have assistants and have other people, they cannot live up to your standards. Your standards is your standards and it's in your head. And I would say that anyone that I put in front of you is still going to be less than your standard. And that's where we have to ask ourselves as a business owner, am I willing to let go of the standard a little bit? So it's still good enough, but then I get my sanity back and I can leverage my time. If I can reduce it from the super high perfectionistic level and come down just a notch and still trade for my time back because now I can have other people help me, then that's something that you have to weigh for yourself and see what's more important. I find that this quality of being too perfectionistic is very common for my creative design business owners, and that's probably where we have to really check in with ourselves and see what's more important. Is growing the business and stepping back a little bit to have people come in more important, or is upholding our perfectionistic standard more important? And that's something that you have to weigh yourself to see ultimately where do you want your business to go. The third most common mistake I see, and this is probably more for my newer design business owners that I see than more established ones. And what I see here is that new business owners don't set boundaries for themselves. I was guilty of this also. In the beginning of your business, you try to accommodate, you try to provide the best customer service possible to clients. And these are when you'll kind of bend over backwards a little bit and maybe bend your rules in your business to make them happy. And there's nothing wrong with customer service. It just gets to a point where you do have to define the line and say, okay, this is my boundaries, and you have to communicate that to the client. So you'll see this like being too nice to clients, meaning if they ask for extras or things that's outside of your scope, then you might just do it to accommodate, or taking calls after hours. I had to draw a line in my business also so that I can train my clients to not call me on evenings and weekends. And you don't have to be rude about it. What I find the best way to handle is when a client calls come in after hours, then just don't pick it up until the next day. You can return the call and then you can just let them know I'm working within these hours. And they understand. Most clients are very reasonable and they get it. Another common issue I see with boundary setting is that you don't collect the money, or you let past dues go way past. And that's not good for cash flow from a business perspective. But that's really where you need to hold your line firm and let clients know, look, these are my payment terms, and if they go past that, then you need to be picking up the phone and letting them know that, hey, we need to get this settled, otherwise I can't do any more work. And I know as a new designer, as a new business owner, that's very tough inside because you're trying to please and you don't want to piss off any clients so that they don't come back. But that is a boundary that you do need to set, because bad cash flow is the number one killer in businesses. 4, not having a clear, defined scope of work. I see this very commonly for new design business owners in their contracts and their proposals. They don't clearly write down exactly what their fees will cover and what their fees won't cover. So there should even be an exclusion list. Now, if you don't do that, what's going to happen is the client's going to use that kind of gray area and loose boundaries to say, no, I thought this was included. And then those difficult conversations needs to be had down the road. And that's never a fun thing to do with your clients. So I like to define my scope of work upfront very clearly with my client first. And this is my fee. If you like it, great. If not, what else you want included in it? And then I'll revise it accordingly. So define the fee accordingly up in the beginning, and then you can get to work without any arguments or disputes. And then the 5th and final one that I see that's very common for interior design business owners is not having clear sign-offs. Now, this is very tough to do if, let's say you presented a concept and the client says, I love it. And to you, you think that's okay, let's go on to the next step. To them, they're like spending the weekend thinking, oh yeah, I love it, but then what about this? And then they talk to their friends and family and say, okay, what if we did this? And to them, it's not final. They're still exploring in their head. Yet on your end, you've gone ahead and done design development and start drawing things up. Now you have a bunch of work that you've done, which may be all lost if they come back to you and say, you know, after talking to friends and family, we decided to go with another concept instead. You know, what you presented was great. Let's say it's traditional, but we want to go modern now. So all of your time is a waste if you don't have them sign off. And that's really my biggest tip here, is to have proper sign off and don't do any work until you get that sign off. And let them know that, especially for those clients who are in a rush and don't want to delay their job. Let them know, hey, I can't move forward to the next step until I get a sign off and approval from you here. So take the time to think about it, but just know that I won't be moving forward until I get that sign off from you. So that's very clear. And that's an example of good boundary setting. That's something you really need to learn as a business owner, dealing with clients, and that's the most efficient way to manage a client. So I hope these 5 tips helps you if you are a new design business owner and figuring things out for yourself. Then keep these 5 tips in mind and don't commit it for yourself. I've seen it over and over again causing trouble and stress for business owners. So I hope you won't get into that situation. And if you're trying to figure out how to run your own design business, then do check out my Interior Design Business Accelerator course at designersbusinessacademy.net. It teaches you everything you need to know about how to start up and run a design business. I've put my 25 years of learning in the industry and building 8 different businesses into this program. So you're gonna get the comprehensive learnings that I have. You're gonna get templates and worksheets for that. So do check it out. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this episode and please pass it on to those who you think can find value from it. I'm Eric Lee with Starfish Coaching and Designers Business Academy, and I can turbocharge your success.